The legend of Shambhala, a hidden land that may exist within our own. At the end of last month, the writer says, I wrote an article about the possibility of extra-dimensional life and worlds that may exist within our own. Well, one world is, of course, the angelic realms. We see them most times in the sacraments of our Holy Christian Orthodox Church. Now, in that article, he said, I mentioned the legend of Shambhala, but did not expand upon it, which is what I'm going to do in this article. In my previous article, I start by explaining that the possibility of multiple universes and multiple dimensions has been written about and discussed in almost every culture we know about. The lore spans across all centuries throughout human existence, and the trend has not stopped today, especially when one dives deep into the realm of quantum mechanics. The Pulse is a reader-supported publication to receive posts. It says, now where is it and who lives there? Shambhala is said to be a physical place as much as it is spiritual. The concept of this hidden land comes from Buddhist philosophy. Apparently, it even has a geographical location somewhere deep within or around the Himalayas, perhaps closer to Tibet. It came to be known as the Buddhist Pure Land that exists within our own, but in another dimension. It's said to be inhabited by very advanced and enlightened beings capable in the city of called Kalapa, the capital city called Kalapa, which is located in the center of Shambhala. And according to the Dalai Lama, at a speech he gave in 1985 during the Kalachakra initiations, he said, although those with special affiliation may actually be able to go there through their karmic connection, nevertheless, it is not a physical place that we can actually find. We can only say that it is a pure land in the human realm. And unless one has the merit and actual karmic association, one cannot actually arrive there, he said. And according to the Theosophical Society, Shambhala, however, although no erudite Orientalist has yet succeeded in locating it geographically as an actual land or district, the seat of the greatest brotherhood of spiritual adepts in their chief on earth today. From Shambhala, at certain times in the history of the world, or more accurately of our own fifth root race, come forth the messengers or envoys of spiritual and intellectual work among men. Edwin Birnbaum, PhD, lecturer, author, and scholar of comparative religion and mythology, says he's worked for many years with a focus on Buddhism and Hinduism and applications of myth to various areas of modern life, ranging from science to business and government. According to him, Shambhala is round, but depicted as an 8-palated lotus blossom, which is a symbol of the heart chakra. He also makes it clear in his book, The Way to Shambhala, that the way is not clear. His work provides multiple records of Shambhala from multiple centuries and kingdoms that reigned across all parts of Asia throughout history. There are many historical records, writings, and works of art depicting Shambhala. Birnbaum has accomplished a major feat in producing this informative book, brought about considerable clarity on the issues of Shambhala and Buddhist eschatology, combining scholarly research with extensive reporting from living informants, including a number of distinguished lamas. This is something also expressed by multiple researchers in the field, saying the tale of the kingdom of Shambhala somewhere to the north of Tibet, where the Kalachakra techniques are preserved and taught, have enjoyed widespread popularity in Tibet and the Mongolian regions. In Tibet, the earliest works, apart from the Kalachakra Tantra and its commentaries that refer to or explicitly deal with Shambhala, date back to the 13th and 14th centuries. During this period, the first guidebooks to the kingdom were also produced. Some of the best-known Tibetan historical chronicles deal with the kingdom. Now, the description from a Tibetan Buddhist encyclopedia, which also correlates with various other sources that have explored this topic says, somewhere far in the north goes a Tibetan legend, is a kingdom of Shambhala, shielded from the outside world by mountain peaks as high as the heavens and sharp as teeth of a tiger. This land has the shape of a giant lotus with 8 petals. Those fortunate enough to reach this wonderful place are awed by its beautiful and plentiful lakes, ponds, meadows, forests, and groves. In the middle of Shambhala stands its capital Kalapa, whose palaces are all made of pure gold, silver, turquoise, coral, pearl, emerald, moon crystal, and other precious stones. Instead of ceilings, these palaces have special circular magnifying crystal spheres through which people can gaze at the gods, the sun, the moon, the stars, so close that they appear within reach. Window screens are made of sandalwood, and the thrones are all of pure gold. South of Kalapa, the seeker will find a special pleasure grove, and in the west one catches a glimpse of the beautiful lake where humans and gods enjoy boat rides together. The people of Shambhala never become sick or old, and they are blessed with handsome and beautiful bodies. The laws of the land are mild and gentle, and beatings along with imprisonments are totally unknown. Last but not least, Shambhala inhabitants never go hungry. All in all, residents of the kingdom are good, virtuous, and intelligent, and capable of reaching nirvana in their lifetime. Shambhala's priests are very faithful and humble. They reject material possessions and go barefoot and bareheaded, dressed only in white robes. Michael Wood, a former BBC journalist, describes it as a lost kingdom buried somewhere in the Himalayas, and writes about how the name Shambhala first appeared in the text known as the Kalachakra Tantra, or Wheel of Time teaching. This Kalachakra doctrine belongs to the highest level of Buddhist Mahayana teaching. He writes that the Shambhala, the people, live in peace and harmony and are faithful to the principles of Buddhism. In this land, war, griefs, and sorrow are completely unknown. And there's also a prophecy. According to Michael, one commentator in the Kalachakra Tantra describes it as follows, quote, "The land of Shambhala lies in a valley. It is only approachable through a ring of snow peaks like the petals of a lotus. At the center is a 9-story crystal mountain which stands over a sacred lake, and a palace adorned with lapis, coral, gems, and pearls. Shambhala is a kingdom where humanity's wisdom is spared from the destructions and corruptions of time and history, ready to serve the world in its hour of need. The prophecy of Shambhala states that each of its 32 kings will rule for 100 years. As their reigns pass, conditions in the outside world will deteriorate. Men will become obsessed with war and pursue power for its own sake, and materialism will triumph over all spiritual life. Eventually, an evil tyrant will emerge to oppress the earth in the despotic reign of terror, but just when the world seems to be on the brink of total downfall and destruction, the mists will lift and to reveal the icy mountains of Shambhala. Then the 32nd king of Shambhala, Rudra Kakrin, will lead a mighty army against the tyrant and his supporters, and in the last great battle they will be destroyed and peace restored. This is from Shangri-La by Michael Wood. Nicholas Roerich, 1874 to 1947, well-known Russian explorer, also writes of Shambhala being located in the north. He traveled through Mongolia and China to the borders of Tibet, and says that during a conversation with the Lama, he was told that the great Shambhala is far beyond the ocean. It's the mighty heavenly domain. It has nothing to do with our earth. Only in some places in the far north can you discern the resplendent rays of Shambhala. He claimed the entrance is deep in the high mountains. The Lama also told Roerich that the king of Shambhala is, quote, ever vigilant in the cause of mankind. He sees all the events of earth in his magic mirror, and the might of his thought penetrates into far-off lands. Uncountable are the inhabitants of Shambhala. Numerous are the splendid new forces and achievements which are being prepared there for humanity. End quote. A Buddhist Armageddon. In some Buddhist prophecies, the equivalent of an Armageddon is also called Shambhala, in which good triumphs over evil. Through Shambhala, the planet is restored rather than destroyed so people can pursue enlightenment after this occurs. Perhaps this is what's being prepared for humanity in Shambhala, as Rorik mentioned above. The highest class of Buddhist Tantra, Anuttara Yoga, teaches meditation methods that parallel the process of death and rebirth in order to access the subtlest level of mind, which apparently naturally manifests at the time of death. Through utilizing this unique level of mind to gain a non-conceptual, blissful type of awareness of voidness, practitioners rid their mental faculties forever of unawareness, disturbing emotions, karmic forces, and the tendencies and habits of all of these and more. In doing this, they stop the forces that cause the cycles of their ordinary death and rebirths, and thus attain liberation and enlightenment so that they can best benefit everyone, and perhaps more beyond the cycle of reincarnation into whatever lies after. These types of teachings in Buddhist philosophy make reference to the cycles that universes periodically undergo, with recurring dissolution, empty periods, evolution, and enduring, similar to what limited beings undergo with recurring death, rebirth, or lifespan. The meditation practices rid the practitioner of being under the control of not only these recurring internal cycles of death and rebirth, but the parallel external cycles of the universe as well. It's all connected. What beings go through on the inside is a mirror and a parallel of what the physical world experiences as a collective as well, it seems, according to this doctrine. It gives more meaning to the idea that change comes from within, and that changing oneself on the inside is a key to changing the world we see outside of us. This is, from what I understand, for the basic idea in Buddhist philosophy, but it's really just a new beginning. It's a bit hard for me to wrap my head around, but it does correlate with other faiths that seem to preach about the cycles of humanity. These are also found in the Vedic and indigenous lore, for example. Dr. Alexander Berzin, renowned scholar, translator, and teacher of Tibetan Buddhism, explains in his piece, Kala Chakra does not predict an actual Armageddon. He says the Kala Chakra, or cycles of time, system of Anuttara Yoga, Tantra, adds yet further external-internal parallelisms in order to make the purification process as complete as possible. This system presents a model of external astronomical and astrological cycles, as well as internal breathing and subtle energy cycles that not only parallel each other, but also parallel its special meditation practices. For the same purpose of inclusiveness, the system also presents a specially designed picture of history, geography, and physiology that similarly parallels this structure, but which, because of its conscious design, differs from the picture drawn in other Buddhist texts. By understanding that all these corresponding macro and microcosmic structures occur under the influence of individual and collective karma, practitioners undertake analogous Kala Chakra meditation in order to purify their mental continuums of that karma and obtain liberation and enlightenment. Thus, the ultimate aim of Kala Chakra practice is no different from that of the other Anuttara Yoga Tantra systems. In order to make a presentation of the meditations for overcoming the ignorance and barbaric disturbing emotions that bring on the karma that needs to be purified, the Kala Chakra texts add to the picture it draws of the cycles of history, descriptions of false and true messiahs, invasions of Shambhala, apocalyptic battles, and new golden ages. This historical representation draws on the features of the politics, events, and popular pan-religious beliefs and concerns of the time and place in which the Kala Chakra literature emerged, namely the early 10th century AD, in the area between eastern Afghanistan and Kashmir. There is a large Shambhala Tangra Tibetan Buddhist painting preserved in the National Gallery in Prague, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic. It's allegedly of Tibetan origin and dates to the 19th century. The Prague Tanka depicts the mythical kingdom of Shambhala and the apocalyptic battle that ensues at the end times between the army of Shambhala and the army of the so-called enemies of the Dharma. This battle seems to be predicted to happen in the year 2424, but who knows if that interpretation is actually accurate. The Asian collections of National Gallery of Prague purchased it from a private owner who could not or would not provide information about its origins. Further, from what I understand, as hinted, it's prophesied that when the world declines into war, materialism, greed, and all is lost, the king of Shambhala at the time will emerge with an army, vanquish dark forces, and usher in the worldwide golden age. Perhaps this is the battle that's depicted in the Tanka mentioned above. Again, I'm confused if this depiction represents an actual battle or simply a battle against the dark forces of materialism, greed, and selfishness that rides within humans. And then we have pictures here from the Tanka, the first one depicting the capital of Shambhala mentioned earlier. Kalapa, the capital of Shambhala, surrounded by yurts, which depictions are rare and imply a Mongolian origin for the Tanka, and according to Buddhist texts, such as the description of the route to Kalapa. Kalapa is a splendid place, a paradise on earth, where everyone is happy, where people do not know evil, hatred, and ignorance, and there they live until the age of 100. Kalapa is said to possess a special spiritual power, which manifests itself by enabling an advanced pilgrim to achieve all the natural and supernatural perfections. By paying respect to the holy sovereigns, a less advanced pilgrim receives spiritual guidance, which will assist him in the successful completion of the spiritual journey. Again, these pictures come from a source that's not known, and over the past couple of hundred years, the myths of Shambhala have been, in some cases, politicized, materialized, and changed, and may not represent something accurate at all. When coming across this Tanka, the idea that there would be some type of battle with death, destruction, and a holy war between Buddhism and other schools of faith simply did not resonate with other literature I've read about Shambhala. It is apparently a land that knows nothing of this type of experience. Given this, and coupled with the fact that the source of this Tanka is completely unknown, I'm very skeptical of its validity and interpretation. To me, the myth simply represents the cycles of time humanity goes through and the inner battle we all face to conquer greed, materialism, and parts of the ego that do not serve us. But again, I don't see it as a myth. I see Shambhala as a place where beings reside that have overcome the issues many human beings are still struggling with, so much so that we as a collective are still not aware that they are even an issue. Dr. Alexander Berzin explains, interfaith dialogue and understanding rather than misinformed suspicion and mistrust are needed to foster world peace. The conferring of the Kala Chakra initiation is a Buddhist contribution to this vitally important process, and certainly not a recruitment procedure for the Buddhist holy war. Now, followers of the doctrine and the Pure Land described as Shambhala, participating in an actual physical type of war against other faiths, as the artwork referred above basically depicts against, and does not make any sense to me. That being said, I thought that it was important to include the artwork simply because it's an important part of the history that seems to be popular when discussing the legend of Shambhala. And this is on Out of Minds 2 by Arjun Walia. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box